There we go. Now it's working. Hello. How's it going? Doing my usual lighting of the good juju. Hello, hello. Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome. Stephanie's here. Hi, Stephanie. Hello, darling. You're always so quick, Stephanie. Hi, Summer. Hi, Nicole. Oh, so good to see you guys. Hi, Chantal. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Lori. You're up early, Lori. Hi, Michelle. How are you? How's the Organite making going? Hi, Jessica. Happy Monday. Hi, Elaine. Hi, Megan. Hi, Cherise. Hi, Amy. Welcome. How is everyone? Did you guys have a good weekend? Just raising the vibe of the space. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Mine was very quiet. I spent most of it baking and cleaning and organizing and doing homework. What did you guys do this weekend? Hi, Grant. Nice to see you. Hi, Corey. Hi, Amma. Hi, Donna. Hi, Aaron. Nicole says, this is my doobie. Yes. Looks like I'm almost compensating for something, you know? I'm going to light some Palo Santo in a second, too. So what did you guys do this weekend? Anything interesting? Please pray for my son, Connor Hughes. He has a tumor in his T1 relapsed Ewing sarcoma. He has been in remission for 2 years. Yes, we will send him some healing. Send me his full info, Stephanie? Maybe we could do some psychic surgery for him. Let's contact me on private messenger, okay? And we'll see what we can do. Sometimes cancer is just is trapped emotions wanting to leave the body. And sometimes when we go back into remission, you know, the things that we were doing before have come back to the surface. So we will we'll see what we can do about that. Sending you lots of love as well. Jessica said I had Friendsmas Saturday and Zoom chat with Tammy Lepresti and other students. Oh, I love Tammy. She's the best. We should have her back on the podcast soon. I'll reach out to her and see what she's doing around the beginning of Jan. Bradley's here. Hello, brother. Good morning. Nice to see you. Bradley's in a Christmas spirit. You can tell with that greeting. To all you beautiful humans of Midgard and the cosmos. That's funny. So anybody have anything going on? Jennifer says, I totally snagged that recipe. Are you talking about my Yorkshire pudding recipe? I'm still feeling very proud of myself for how well they came out yesterday. That was my practice for Christmas dinner. Matt's here. Hi, Matt. Nice to see you. Wonderful. Nicole says, organized, stocked up on everything. Wonderful. That is very good. Things are getting really weird, you guys. Did you guys notice how weird things have been getting? Things are getting weirder than normal, which is saying something, because things have been weird for a while now, but it's like getting weirder by the day, which makes me wonder what the hell is going on. Because there's all kinds of where's my Palo Santo? There's all kinds of weird stuff that's been happening recently with all of these new drone things that are occurring. Where's my Palo Santo gone? Guess I left it in my other ashtray. Oops. Oh well. So anyway, I have been trying to keep up to date on all the craziness that have been happening. It has been getting really weird. There was one video I shared last night. I don't know if where did I share that? Or was it this morning? Where all the lights in this small town were flickering like crazy. Very strange things happening. In fact, I'll show you guys. This guy claimed that he was literally just walking through town last night. Here it is. Look at that.
Worcester, Massachusetts right now. Lights are going crazy.
All the lights in the town were flickering and going nuts. And that was just after a whole bunch of UFOs came through. A bunch of those drones came through. So if you're listening to some of the Take-Ettans, there's Marie and a few others have said that this is totally the cabal, which, I mean, obviously we shouldn't be too surprised about that. But it is really strange that there's all kinds of other activity that is going along with it. And it makes you wonder, like, my first question whenever things like this are going on, especially if the media is talking about it, my first question is, why are they trying to distract us from? Like, what are they trying to hide, behind the curtain, so to speak? And it does make you wonder, because there's so much that's going on right now, like not just the drones. Like, it started with the drones, and then they started dropping things. They started dropping orbs and stuff. So if you listen to the Take-Ettans in some of their videos, they're claiming this is 100% the cabal, because of course it is. However, the technology they're using, they're ramping it up. Like, the first technology they were using was very old. Like, we're talking straight out of Nixon's broom closet type old. This was technology they had back in the 60s, 70s. But they kept it quiet back then, because back then, obviously, they didn't want people to know they had it. So now they're busting it out, and they're okay with, obviously, us seeing it, but under completely different guise. They're obviously trying to make us think it's ETs instead. Since we are in such direct contact with ETs, pretty much I am, at least on a daily basis, especially when I work with galactic guides doing clearings and things, they actually are laughing this off. They're thinking this is ridiculous. What are they even trying to do? So I think that it may actually be like a warm-up, like a soft disclosure kind of thing. But you know what else I've noticed, right? Is that whenever activity like this starts picking up, we start noticing other activities start picking up. I've had a lot of emergency cases booked the last few days. I can kind of see like how the energy of the planet is actually doing by how many bookings I'm getting in a single day. It's quite funny, because on quiet days when the energy is, low, I only get like 1 or 2 bookings. But when the energy is high and there's all kinds of chaos going on, I can get more than a dozen in a single day. And it makes you wonder how this is connected. Well, I started doing a little bit of assistance with people who are abductees. This is actually one of my more exciting things that I'm working on right now, is helping abductees, especially. And these abductees, many of them have been harassed their whole lives and are only becoming aware of it now. Many of them have been harassed since they were like 7, 8 years old, and have been taken that often. But only now, when they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s even, are they even becoming aware of missing time, of strange electronics going crazy. And you know what I've noticed the last few days that I've been doing clearings is that the grays are out there in force right now. They're everywhere, especially in Australia. I don't know what's going on with you Aussies right now, most of which are probably sleeping because it's like 2 a.m. But it is very strange how so much activity. So get this, right? I did a clearing yesterday on somebody in Australia that had these really strange hybrids attached to them. This person is in training for SRT. And so all of a sudden, as she went to log in to her online course, it just started acting crazy. And all of her electronics around the house started acting up. And she's like, what the hell's going on? So we went and checked for her yesterday, Katie and I, and we found out that there were grays that were literally in her house that were trying to stop her from doing the course. Not only that, these were not normal grays. They were hybrid types. They were really creepy. Okay? Like they intentionally made them look grotesque so that way they make you more afraid when you see them. I mean, like normally you see a gray and you're pretty freaked out. I mean, that's pretty abnormal, right? It's just seeing like, they have gray skin and they've got the big almond eyes and they've got the bulbous heads with the tiny little bodies. Just seeing that is enough to freak the hell out of pretty much anybody, right? These ones, these ones are very different. They're more demonic, I guess, is the best way of putting it, because many of them have like this, I don't know what it is, but they're the really nasty teeth and the funky, they're just it's hard to describe. Okay, because they all kind of look different, but it's like they were designed to look really creepy, right? And these are the ones we're finding everywhere. So the other night I tuned in, and this person had another kind on them, right? Had the exact same kind. So I was like, where the hell? And I asked Constantine, which is one of the guides that I was doing the clearing with, I'm like, where is this person from? And I looked, they're in Pennsylvania. Okay. They had the exact same creepy, disgusting looking gray hybrid types that they had in Australia, all the way here in Pennsylvania. And I cleared them like 3 hours apart. And I was like, what the here? And Constantine was like, well, that's just what they act worldwide. They can go wherever they want. Australia and Pennsylvania are right next to each other if you think about how their ships operate and how they can go through portals. Like, it doesn't make a difference where you're located. They'll just go wherever they feel like going. So yeah, this was quite a stir for me because we're still trying to learn what we're dealing with here. In fact, as I've told you guys a few times, I want to create this sort of like monster manual type. So if anybody is really good at illustrations, anybody wants, I was kind of thinking of doing it like a mugshot, you know what I mean? Or like having an illustrate, you know how they have like those perpetrator ones where they get somebody to come in and design it, like like you have to describe what this person looked like, and then they're like, oh yeah, I could do that, and they draw it all out as per your description. So I forget what those are called. But those, I want to have like a book with one of those, right? Where I can have like it all. But then what would you even make these hybrids look like? Because they all look different, but they all look grotesque and freaky, and they all have like really creepy features. So I need somebody that can decide. I don't know if I want to do AI. AI art is meh. But I really am serious. I'm trying to create this monster manual. And I shouldn't even call it monster manual. It's going to be an ET manual. But if you play in D&D, then you understand what I'm kind of going for. This is my D&D history talking. Composite sketches. Thank you, Dana. Exactly what I'm, the sketch artist. Yes. I was thinking about doing it that way. So it kind of looks like somebody, you know what I mean? Like a sketch artist drew it, but a good one, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of what I'm looking for with the book that I'm writing, because I am getting a whole lot of juicy details. And now, thanks to my wonderful friends, the Salations, I can ask them about anything I want. So anything that I'm, studying, I can learn information about. So this will help me to write the book. And there's a whole lot of other things that I can put into the book as well about how to deal with them, how to protect yourself from each different type, how to recognize if you're being messed with by a certain type. But it's freaky too. Like, you know how detailed each chapter would have to be? There would be a whole chapter on just reptilians. Because there is not like one or two different kinds. There are dozens and dozens of different kinds. In fact, Australia, you guys take the cake when it comes to freaky reptilian shit. There was a reptilian attached to somebody that looked like the tail of a lobster. I was like, you're kidding, right? And the guys are like, no, that's what it looks like. It looks like somebody took a tail of a lobster and made it sentient, and it's just running around attaching to people. And I'm like, how could that be reptilian? Because when I think of reptilians, I think of, rah. But no, this was like a little creature. And they're like, no, that's just what it is. It's like a little lobster tail thing that's reptilian in nature and likes to chase people around attached to them. I was like, my God, this planet really is a fucking zoo. You just never know what you're going to find here. Freaky stuff everywhere you go. So Jennifer says, I was going to ask, do them seem to be interested in a specific type of person? For example, more on SRT type students in healthcare. So they do tend to mess with people who are starseeds. Just for the record, they love to mess with starseeds. I'm not entirely sure why. I think the starseeds may have a different vibration, or maybe they are just, I don't know. It's almost like they're a bigger battery. So they go for the bigger battery, you know? It's like one is a juicier meal. So they go, it's almost like you ever go to a place, right, where you're surrounded by mosquitoes and your friends are getting eaten alive, and you're like, I'm not getting bit. I don't know. And then your friends are like, well, I guess we got the sweet blood. They just like us instead. Well, it can kind of be like that, actually. And I think, you know what's weird is I think it's actually your genetics and your blood type that also has a factor in all of this. Because your blood type, a lot of people aren't aware of this, your blood type is all very closely connected to your genetics, and your genetics, it depends on where your ancestry comes from, because you get some people, this is why they were so obsessive about this, you guys, when we were doing what do they call it? The royals, right? Where they plan their whole genetics and all that. Check out my new cup, you guys. Isn't it cool? Look at that. It goes from black to this. Isn't that cool? I love my new cup. So Glennis says, I'm in Australia, and one night we closed my eyes and I saw reptilians flashing in front of me, and I had to remind myself I wasn't asleep. Well, the thing is, right? The reason you see things more when you are just about to fall asleep is because your mind is in theta brainwave state. So when you're in theta brainwave state, you pick up a lot more around you. It's almost like you're bridging the gap between 3D and 4D while you're still in your body. So this is another reason why when you first wake up in the morning, you're going to notice more stuff too. So mosquitoes like O positive blood, or O negative. O negative or positive. Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't know that. Anna says, do you know what blood types? I think they go after Rh negative people personally. Although I would have to do a study on this. That is completely intuitive, just saying. So, and my intuition has been on point the last few days. There was one person that came to me for a mentorship chat. I had a wonderful chat with this young lady from Australia, and she was telling me about some of the things going on in her life and some of the cool stuff that was happening. And I was like, have you ever heard of Sirius B? And she's like, what? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like you're from there. I was like, do you like dolphins and whales? She's like, yeah, I love them. And then I found out, like, literally like 2 days later from her getting her Akashic Records reading that she was a whale 5 times in Sirius B. And one thing, I got to tell you what that did for my own confidence, because I'm like, yes, I fucking nailed it. So I don't know if I tuned into her Akashic Record or if that was intuitive or what. So my intuitive answers I'm listening to a lot more recently, and I'm starting to think, right? So get this. So as we know about the Rh negatives, one of the things that we talked about before that was mentioned by the Tegetans is that you can notice, right, where your whole family will be Rh positive, right? And then all of a sudden you get some weird correlation where you'll have like an A negative person in the family while everybody else is positive. And you're looking at this person like, what is going on? Where is this A negative person coming from out of this whole family that's O positive? You know, it just doesn't make sense. It's activated through your soul history. So long story short, every single one of us has had a long soul lineage here on earth, and we have DNA that has gone dormant. But when you have certain coding in your soul, in your soul spirit genetics, if you want to call it, everyone has like a 16-digit code and a whole lot of other complications that go along with their frequency, I guess, that is coming into the body, the frequency that is using the body. Well, that frequency can change the body in many different ways, depending on where your frequency is coming from. Some people's frequency comes from, like, we're talking 12D and beyond, right? So they have a very intense high frequency. So when they come down here and they get into this physical body and they connect to the physical body, they can actually alter some of the genetics, and some of the things that can be changed is your blood type. So this is where the Tegetans explained, ironically, and this is why I'm laughing about this, is that the Rh negative blueprints, I should say, that are hidden in our genetics are actually reptilian, just for the record. The Tegetans have said that. Why certain starseed frequencies activate reptilian DNA, I don't know. I don't think even they have studied it to that much of a degree. I think that they're just kind of making educated guesses with some of these things, especially in pertaining to our genetics. But yes, your starseed frequency will activate certain characteristics within your vessel. And that is one of the characteristics that often get activated. And the reason for that is I'm not entirely sure. I did study Rh negative people for like 10 years. I was mildly obsessed with it. This is one of the reasons why. In fact, I'll even share the article that I wrote with you for like ages ago. I'm sure many of you have already read it. So this article I wrote literally like 10, 12 years ago, but I moved it to Steam It so I wouldn't lose it when I shut down my other website. So if you guys are interested in Rh negative blood types, then you can see there's a little bit more info in there if it decides to share. There we go. If you guys are interested in learning what blood type you are, the best way to find out is just to donate blood. That's how I found out. And I was told that, your blood type doesn't actually have that much to do with your actual soul purpose for being here. It's kind of like just a side effect of things being different for you anyway. So this is why, the black sheep in the family will sometimes randomly just be Rh negative surrounded by Rh positive people. And you're like, this doesn't even make sense. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, think of a blood cell, right? Think of an Rh negative person and an Rh positive person's blood as like a grape. Okay. So that little blood cell, if you have Rh positive blood, there is a thick cell wall, like a protein wall that fits around that blood cell. So think of it like a grape with a very thick skin around it, right? Well, Rh negative people do not have any of that protein wall around the blood cell. So it's basically like a skinless grape, if you want to compare the two, right? So that blood cell, because it doesn't have that protein layer, it actually has an easier time processing information. So it's almost like that blood cell layer blocks certain information and frequencies from being absorbed, if you know what I mean. So it actually, according to some of the sources that I looked into, they claim that it blocks electromagnetic frequencies. So if it blocks EMF and other things, it makes it a little bit harder, I guess. I guess it depends on what you're really blocking, whether or not it's EMF or some other kind of wavelengths that you're spreading, that you're blocking against. But they say that this is one of the reasons why people who are Rh negative are naturally psychic. They have an ability to perceive information, especially from spirit, easier because there's not as much things blocking it. And if we talk about, blood, especially in regards to the cabal, they already know, well aware that the blood that you have in your body is the most important thing that you have connected to you. Like if your blood is unhealthy, then you're unhealthy. This is one of the reasons why the elite live as long as they do and why they are as healthy as they do is because they often get blood transfusions from people who are much younger. This is one of the things we discussed with Chen over the summer that was kind of complicated to discuss because these are not the things they like us talking about, if you know what I mean. So your ability to connect with spirit does sometimes get to be easier when you're Rh negative. Why that happens, like I said, not entirely sure. They haven't exactly done a whole lot of research on this. Lindsay says, do you cover the Rogam shot too in the article? Yes, I did. I did mention it in the article. I've had the Rogam shot. In fact, it was crazy. The day that Aiden was born, they were pestering me so badly about vaccinations. I wouldn't let Aiden leave my site. And the only way I could get them to back off was if I took the Rogam myself. So it's a long story, but yeah, whenever you have a child and you are Rh negative, they pressure you a great deal because they believe, and I don't know if this is true or not, because I haven't really learned about this too much, but there was a man in Scotland that went to donate blood. This was like 50 years ago, and they found out that he actually had a very special kind of blood, and they ended up using his blood to create the Rogam shot. So what this does is so in the article, I'm trying not to explain too many things all at once here because I'm getting myself confused here. So in the article, it's mentioned that a lot of children used to be basically like aborted by your own body. Like your body would see it as like a foreign substance, right? And so if you were Rh negative, and you were holding an Rh positive baby, it may actually consider it to be a threat, because your body, if any blood mixes between the two, then it could actually cause your body to reject the offspring. And so this is why, it's actually one of the only vaccines I think I've gotten since I was 16 and in the fire department. Actually, come to think of it, it's the only shot I got, because they do tell you that if in case you do get pregnant a second time, it's much more likely to have a miscarriage the second time, especially if you have mixed the blood between, the mother and the baby during delivery. So it's a complicated subject. But up until, a lot of people weren't even aware about all of this until the last 50, 60 years ago. So that one gentleman who donated blood, and then they ended up creating this I forget, it's that's not a vaccine. It's some other, there's an actual word for it. And I've been trying to remember the word for the last 5 minutes, and it's bothering me. But there is actually a way of blocking that from happening. And that is what the RhoGAM shot is designed to do, is to protect the upcoming children in the future. It has no effect on the baby you just had. Obviously, it's more for in line for future children. So I did end up getting the RhoGAM shot, just for the record, even though I was kind of under duress when I got it, because I just wanted them to leave us alone. They were not going to leave us alone until somebody got a shot. It was crazy. This is how hospitals are, though. They are very demanding and very, I don't know, it's almost like they have some kind of a what do you call it? They can't even let you leave unless somebody gets one. So, Summer says, I remember my midwife explaining that shot. Yeah, see, if you're Rh negative, this is one of the reasons why they always make sure to keep an eye on things, especially in the future. So if you guys are curious about it, like I said, read the article. There's all kinds of interesting things on there. Quota, that's the word. See, I can't think of words today. My brain is not working. Thank you very much, Chantal. Quota, yes, that's the one that I was trying to think of. So yeah, for those of you who are Rh negative, or maybe even suspecting that you're Rh negative, it's a good idea to do research on these things so you know what you're kind of getting yourself into. Oddly enough, my husband had a huge psychic attack 3 days ago. Do tell Michelle what happened. Is he feeling any better? Maria says, yes, I had 2 miscarriages, then I got the R shots and 3 beautiful babies. One of them has CP, and I wondered if that was why, because the birth injury is a mystery to this day. We could actually find out from the baby's Akashic record. If there's anything that you guys want to know, I highly recommend going and getting an Akashic Records reading by Adriana. One of my friends had some very severe issues with seizures. And get this, right? We found out that it was actually tied to when she was a dolphin and got hit on the head. I think it happened in the Cove. If you guys know about Japan and all of the horrible things that they do to dolphins there, it's one of the main places in the world where they still hunt dolphins to this day. And unfortunately, in that lifetime where she was bopped on the head, it caused seizures in this lifetime, right? Isn't it crazy where you get bopped on the head as a dolphin and then you end up with seizures in this lifetime? Well, we can find out why things are happening the way they're happening. It's all in your Akashic record, just in case you want to know. If there's any health issues, or let's say cancer comes back again, you can always find out. It's in your Akashic record. Every time your answer is in there. And in many cases, your guides are actually trying to hint something about your health and healing. Like about my foot, for example. My left foot has been hurting me for weeks. Some days it doesn't hurt at all, and some days it hurts like hell. Like this morning, it was hurting like hell. And then I asked my guides what is going on with my foot, and they said, oh, your higher self is trying to teach you a lesson. It wasn't the exact words they used. I'm paraphrasing. But no, my higher self is trying to teach me a lesson. It's giving me shit about some of my inability to move forward, my fear of stepping into my own power, blah, blah, blah. There's always something that your higher self is trying to tell you when there's an injury or an illness. It's just whether or not we're willing to listen to the message. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why, like I said, fear and pain, there's always a reason for it. So if you've got anxiety about something, or if you've got pain somewhere in the physical body, that is your soul trying to tell you something. Aaron McCarthy says, my daughter experiences seizures. There's always a reason for seizures. 100%. Sometimes it's because there's two competing frequencies in one body. Sometimes it's because the one frequency isn't very well grounded in the physical body. Like if your silver cord isn't fully tethered, sometimes it can cause glitches. And if you're glitching out, if your signal that's coming from wherever your soul is coming from and down into your physical body is being picked up by the receiver, the receiver, if there's anything that is blocking that, then it's going to cause seizures. Sometimes this is caused by misfirings in the brain. Sometimes this is caused by blocks in the brain that are blocking your transmitters from being able to receive the information. Sometimes it happens where you are even like manifesting things in your own head. So this is why it's not always cut and dry, right? My left arm was hurting and going numb. Usually if you're left, you got to ask your guides what the cause is, right? Because the other day I also had pain in my arm and I said something to my guides and they're like, yeah, you have an implant in your arm. I was like, oh, okay. So sometimes the phantom pain that causes because implants were put in there for whatever reason. Sometimes it happens just walking through a grocery store. There'll be somebody that's there messing with people, putting implants in them and setting cords as you walk in. Like there's all kinds of entities that do this sort of thing. So if you have phantom pain, chances are there's either dark patches or some sort of an implant there. But if not, if you've had a clearing recently, or if you've called in your guides to clear it and it's still happening, then it could actually be that there's some sort of an energy blockage there, or some kind of a message from your from your subconscious mind. They're trying to tell you something. So what the cause is entirely dependent on your situation. But if you'll notice that the pain comes and goes, if it's throbbing pain all the time, then there may be just some physical ailment that needs to be addressed. It could be something in your diet or something that you're wearing or something that you're using that is causing the affliction. But if it's not something that just, if it comes and goes, right, then usually there's some kind of an energetic cause for that sort of thing. And it could even be your thoughts, just for the record. It could literally just be thoughts that are producing the pain. This is one of the most frustrating things about us humans. It's like every single one of us, our brains are like broken wands where we think of something and we manifest things that we couldn't even fathom just by thinking certain thoughts. So your thoughts can even self-sabotage and cause all kinds of pain and issues. So it's interesting that so many of you are having issues with your left forearm. I wonder why. Usually like the foot or something, that'll be like, well, you're having fear of moving forward, or if there's something with your head, they'll be like, well, you're what was the head one again? Damn it. There was one with the headache. They're like, yeah, you have too much energy coming in. It's overstimulation of the crown. And that's why they tell you to put a hat on. Right. But you have all kinds of stuff like my knees. My knees have bothered me for a while now. And I asked my guides why my knees were bothering me, expecting them to be like, oh, you just need to lose some weight, Laura. No. No, that wasn't the reason. They were like, no, your knees are hurting because you have difficulty with balance, with finding balance within yourself. Your shoulders, right? Like if you have what we call the atlas pain, right? You feel like your atlas holding the world up on your shoulders. That means you're carrying a lot of baggage, usually for a lot of other people. Whenever we're holding on to stuff, especially your back, right? Holding on to back pain, think of it as a backpack, right? You got a backpack full of shit you've been holding on to. So if you're dealing with shoulder, neck, and back pain, usually that's what it is you're carrying a whole lot of baggage around for no reason. Was it Louise Hay that had a whole bunch of these explanations? It was really good. I think I have her book upstairs. But there's also Edgar Casey has a really great book on healing as well. Because some of these issues, like I said, they're psychosomatic. You end up creating a lot of stuff in your head without even being aware that you're doing it. I started sleeping with something over my head and it's so comforting and grounding. There you go, Jennifer. One of those like silk hat things that girls like to wear and keep their head up. Actually might be a nice thing to get. I went to the casino Friday and got throbbing in the front of my forehead. I pictured myself with a helmet. Nice one, Jennifer. Yeah, casinos are. I used to live in Atlantic City. I am well aware casinos are one of the biggest areas to go home with stuff, just for the record. So make sure you have a nice sea salt bath today and even submerge like down to your, especially if you go in and you feel a headache coming on. If you go into a public space and you have that headache coming on, right? It could be overstimulation of the third eye. Or the crown, because we do end up picking up a whole lot of stuff from around us. This is why if you go out in public and you put your hair up, you're less stimulated by that, because this is why I always wear my hair down when I'm working. But if I'm not working and I'm just wandering around doing stuff like errands, I always put my hair up in a bun. The reason for that, this is all antenna. Okay, all of this is one of the reasons why you got to cut it on occasion too. I had mine all the way down to my butt not too long ago, and I cut like this much off. You have no idea how much you actually end up purging from your system whenever you cut your hair, because you hold on. It's your antenna. You're holding on to all kinds of stuff without realizing it. So if you are feeling a little overwhelmed in public, always put your hair up, wear a hat. You can also visualize, that was a genius idea, by the way, wearing the helmet on your head. Pretend like you're, Magneto, and you need to have a helmet to protect your brain as you're going out. It does actually work. You'd be surprised how much stuff you pick up with your antenna, so to speak. A lot. Like you say things like, get out of my hair. You don't understand why you're saying things like, get out of my hair, or I'll get out of your hair, whatever. I mean, yeah, you have a lot of people that are probably wrapped up in there. I'll never forget, I was hanging out with Nancy at Daniela and Christopher's, and Nancy's looking at me all funny. I need to get her back on the podcast. I love Nancy. Nancy was looking at stuff. She's like, what is wrong? What is that? And I was like, what? She goes, oh my God. And I was like, what? And she's looking at me all weird. She's like, I thought it was your hair. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, there's like wispy things coming off of it. Like your hair is here, but I'm seeing other stuff coming off. She's like, they're cords. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. She's like, no, let me cut them for you. You got cords all over them. Like literally, it looks like strands of hair. That is how cords start to form. They look like little strands of hair that you start cutting. But it's fun when you have a medium that can actually see it, because it does. It looks like you have two sets of hair on your head. This is why cords are a thing you want to do all the time. You got to cut them all the time. If you have a fancy comb, like an organite comb, like one of Michelle's wonderful little inventions, that'd be great. But you can even just use one of these. You just visualize cutting any cords. Especially, this is important around family, around Christmas, just for the record. You don't want them to go through it. So you literally can just do this. Brush your hair with the cords. Visualize it cutting. Or you can go and get, I have a machete over there I could be using, but this works too. So you just visualize the cords cutting with the selenite. It's very easy. See? You just visualize it. I've actually tested this and it does work. I've said to my guides, no, let me do it. And I was like, all right, I can do this. The only thing I'm still trying to figure out, right? Because I've learned how to do my own grounding. I've learned how to do my own protection. I've learned how to repair my own etheric. But the one thing I'm working on is reintegrating thought forms. That is the one that's tricky that I've been working on. Reintegrating thought forms is not easy. So there's a whole lot of different things you can do, like I said, for your own spiritual well-being and hygiene. And I've always had the opinion where, and I said this even a year ago, where I don't plan on having somebody clear me my whole life. Like I want to do it myself. So, and there's even a couple times where I've actually called in my higher self and cleared a level 2 now. So just for the record, like you guys can do this also. If you feel that there is something that is draining your energy, call upon your higher self. Say to your higher self, I call my higher self, please, higher self, there is something that is causing pain in my left, whatever you want to call it. Please ask them to come in and clear any cords that are attached to me. Please clear any foreign energies. Please clear any attachments to me that are not serving me to my highest good, and send them to source of peace and love. You can call in your higher self. I've literally seen this happen. There's actually a couple times, right, where I'll sit down with one of the mediums. I'm not going to say which one, but this one particular medium, she'll be trying to go into trance, right? And she'll be like, it's not working. Hold on a second. I'll be like, what's going on? And she's like, hold on, there's something blocking me. Hold on. And then I'll be like, okay. And then 2 minutes later, she'll be like, all right, I'm good. I'm good to go. And then she'll go into trance. And I'm like, what was that all about? And they're like, oh, she just had to clear something. And I was like, that is so cool. Like, that is one of the reasons why she wasn't going directly into trance, because there was an entity attached trying to get in the way of that. But she calls in her higher self, and her higher self cleared it immediately. She didn't have to call another guide to be like, hey, can you come and clear me really quick? I can't go under. Because there are a couple occasions where my medium, I'll be like, hey, are you going under? And they're like, no, I don't know what's wrong. So then I'll have to call another medium and say, hey, you know, I'm with such and such person. They're trying to go under and they can't go under. So can you just check them really quick? And they'll be like, yeah, I'll check them. Oh, yep. They have a level 2. Let me get rid of it. Right? So it was really interesting that this one medium, that's how she does it. She's just like, yeah, I call my higher self. Boom. And then I don't have to call another medium to come and do the clearing because her higher self does it. Sabrina says, why the higher self and not the guides? Because the guides are not as powerful as the higher self. In fact, you know what's interesting? This is one of the things that I've noticed. Not all guides are the same. They do not have the same skills. They are not all. And one of the things we've also noticed, discarnate guides and galactic guides are very different to one another. And the way that they do clearings are entirely different. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, a discarnate guide is someone who's deceased, right? It's usually a human that has passed on to the light, and they're now guiding other people who are still incarnated, right? And many of the times they are somebody that you have known through previous incarnations, such as a family member or a teacher or a loved one. In almost all cases, they are just a spirit that has special skills in guiding and protecting, etc. This is why you have different types of guides. Some of your guides are going to be more companion-like Charlie. Charlie is one of my guides. He is one of my companion guides. If you guys hear me busting out the British accent every once in a while, that is Charlie. Charlie comes in a bit close, and I start talking like this, and I don't know why. It's a terrible attempt, but that's why. Charlie comes in, he's British, and I start to feel his energy, and I can start to channel him a little bit to a degree. That is why the British accent comes out every once in a while. And what else is interesting, too, is that your gatekeeper, in many cases, doesn't speak. In most cases, the gatekeeper is just like this big old bouncer type, you know? So if you have a gatekeeper, in most cases, the gatekeeper is a being a few words, we'll put it that way. So, you know, it's funny how we are unaware about the different dynamics that different guides have. And when you have a gatekeeper guide, that is their only role. They're only there to protect you. That's it. When you have a companion guide, that is what they're there for. They're there to keep you company, to help you through certain situations, to just be a companion. But then you have other guides that may come in for different reasons. Sometimes a guide will come in for only a short period to help you with whatever you're trying to finish. I had a specific guide come in. This is part of the reason why I did so well with that 13-day fast. Definitely can't take all the credit in that. Is when I told my soul guides what I was doing, they actually called forth an ancestor for me. And I don't even know who the ancestor was because they're like, Laura, you have an ancestor that's coming forward to help you with your fast. And I was like, oh, that's lovely. Who is it? And they said, well, it's like a grandfather type energy, but he, and they describe what he looked like. He's got very long gray hair. He's got very tan skin. He's thin. This is somebody in your ancestral history that was very good at fasting, and they're coming forward to help you during your fast. And I was like, oh, that's great. Thanks, Grandpa. And they laughed. They're like, he's not your grandpa, Laura. And he's actually laughing his butt off the fact that you just called him Grandpa. And I was like, well, you said grandfather energy. How was I supposed to know? But yeah, I had quite a laugh about that, right? So you have different guides that come through, sometimes for short periods, sometimes for longer periods. And if you'll notice, right, if you start doing any form of spirit releasement work, you will get a new guide in many cases where a new guide will come forward because they are trained in some kind of spirit releasement work, whether or not it's healing. A lot of times we have healing guides. Sometimes we have herbal teacher guides, like a guide will come through. If you're meant to be learning herbology, you'll have a guide that will come through. If you're meant to be learning things about crystals, you'll have a special guide that knows all about crystals that will come through. So you never really know what guide is going to be brought to you depending on how well you're doing in certain things. Like if they feel that you don't even need a guide because you're rocking it already, then you're not going to have as much assistance because they're like, well, she doesn't need us. She's on a roll, you know? But if you're in a situation where you really need a guide, let's say all hell is breaking loose, they may end up sending in more guides for you until all the shit stops hitting the fan. And one of the things we've noticed too is that certain guides will end up being bullied quite a lot. Sometimes your soul guides are not equipped to deal with what you're dealing with, just for the record. Because not, like I said, not all guides are trained to remove reptilians from people. Not all guides are trained to be guardians. And so you're gonna start noticing that every guide is different. And really, one of the funniest things I've noticed about the soul guides is how much I held them in almost like an angelic pedestal before. And after working for a year with them, I'm like, well, they're just people like us. They're just people that don't have bodies anymore. They're exactly the same. They all have different opinions. They all have different ways of doing things. So this is why you'll notice like certain SRT guides will like you more and other guides will be like, nah, she's not really my vibe. So it's funny how different guides just like different personalities. And you'll notice that certain guides will start to push you in new directions in ways you didn't expect. So if you don't like the way that you're going in life, sometimes you can ask for a new guide. You literally ask them for a guide. This happened to one of my friends in New Jersey. She's been going through a really hard time as a new manager at I'm not going to say what store, but it's not a very nice company to work for. We'll just put it that way. They like to exploit their workers. And she has been grinding herself into the ground, working her butt off, especially over Christmas, right? And I told her she was doing too much. And then I asked her guides what to do. And her guides are like, she needs whole new guides. And I was like, what do you mean? So we tuned into her guides and the guides were like, we can't do this anymore. She needs more help. I'm like, what do you mean she needs more help? They're like, we're getting bullied every single day. Every single day she comes into work, she's not sovereign within 2 hours. And I was like, why? What's the problem? And they said, it's the people that come into her store. Every time somebody comes into her store with a bad attitude because she's the manager, she has to go and deal with that person. And what happens? The attachment jumps to her. So I've cleared this friend probably like 20 times in the last couple months because I've been trying to kind of like help her stay sovereign. And the last time I cleared her, the guides were like, we can't do this anymore. We're sorry. We're not good at this. She needs to have a more powerful guide that's going to come in and protect her. So you know what they said? They said, when she gets home tonight, tell her to call in new guides, to give consent, to call in her higher self and say, higher self, yes, I would like new soul guides. And I would like to blah, 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 to literally to tell your higher self what you want. Right? And they told me, they said, if she does that, we will give her an angelic guide. We have an angelic guide that is already accepted, that it is willing to come in and protect her, but she needs to, obviously keep up with the homework. You know what I mean? Like you can ask for an angelic guide and you can receive an angelic guide, but only if you ask for it, right? They weren't just going to appoint it. She had to go to her higher self and ask for this. And I thought that was really cool, actually. So they're like, no, make sure you tell her as soon as you get off this call, make sure you go and tell her that she's got a new guide coming, but she has to ask for it. So this is another reason why I'm telling you guys, if you feel that your guides are not equipped, no offense to any of your guides who are listening to me talk right now, because I'm sure you guys are working above and beyond, working your butts off right now. There's a lot of soul guides that you don't even believe how much work they put into just making sure you hear something, right? You have no idea how hard these guides are working from behind the scenes, right? So many times they have messages for you and you don't even see them. Like, let's say probably, 9 times out of 10, there was a certain message they're trying to get across and we just, whoop, it's not happening. So when they actually do get us to listen, when they actually have the ability to be heard, you'd be surprised how thrilled they actually are. And I think this is so funny because I was talking with Adriana about this when she was doing her Akashic Records readings for people. And the guides will actually show up before the person does. Like she'll have a meeting at, I don't know, like let's say noon, and 11 a.m. the guides of the client are already racking up and going, all right, you're gonna have to tell her this, you're gonna have to tell her that, you're gonna have to sort this out, you're gonna have to shoot this out. And then sometimes they're even kind of like dragging her to the records, going, come on, she needs to know this. We don't have much time. So it's quite funny how much these guides, some of which feel like they haven't been heard in a decade, right? So all of a sudden the guide actually gets a chance to speak and they're like, oh, where do I even begin? I think it's funny that there's 111 people listening to this right now, by the way. There's 111 people watching. So maybe the guides are also giving me an angel number right now. Just letting me know. But yes, I just wanted to say, like, some of you that follow my page, the main reason you're doing so is because your guides were like, yeah, get in there. Pay attention. Are you listening? So it's really funny that when we tune in with the soul guides, especially during clearings, and especially, you know, this happened literally last night where I tuned into somebody's etheric and they had an imposter soul guide. And so the imposter had pushed the original soul guides completely out. Like we're talking like down the block. Like the soul guides could not get even close to their ward, not even a little bit, because their entity that had attached to their, you know, to their ward, I guess you want to call it, the person they're protecting and guiding, you know, when they get pushed back that far, there's nothing they can do. They need to get some sort of backup. They need to get some sort of help. And so that's what we are. We come in literally like the cavalry. And I love it. It's so funny. I said that to the guides last night because we were tuning in and I was like, it's all right. Or because I asked the guides, I was like, are the guides connected? They're like, no. They were pushed way out. And I was like, it's all right, guides. We got this. Cavalry's coming in. And the guides were laughing. They were so happy. But that's what I mean. Like the guides, when they feel helpless and there's nothing they can do, they need somebody that's going to come in and back them up. So it's almost like a cavalry coming in to chase back all the baddies until bring them back into the forefront to help them reinstate themselves as soul guides. Because like I said, many of them can't deal with a fucking reptilian. Some of you guys have little adorable fairy guides. What are they supposed to do against a reptilian? You know what I mean? So sometimes even like these angelic guides can get bullied by some of this really, really dark shit that we have here on Earth. So, you know, this is one of the reasons why I'm so grateful for the Galactics, because you know what's interesting? The discarnate soul guides are not as well equipped to deal with the more galactic issues, right? So that's why certain cases like the one we were dealing with, those really freaky hybrid gray types, a discarnate guide comes in and they're like, shit, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? They're not allowed to kill a living, breathing creature. It may be the freakiest creature you've ever fucking seen, but they're not allowed to kill it. They're not allowed to do harm to another living being. So what are they supposed to do? Well, do you know what we've been doing? Guess who's been coming in to help us? The Irma. The Irma has been locking them up in cages and carting them away. So I just want to say, I am so grateful for all the help we've been getting, because when I say we're getting help, I'm talking layers upon layers of help depending on the situation. So if we are dealing with galactic guides, it was the Irma that came in and collected those level 3s, those freaky hybrid gray types. And it was funny, the guides were like, oh. If you heard the way the guides were saying when they tuned in, even the guides were repulsed. They were like, oh, this is just wrong. Oh, like when they saw, they're like, how could they even genetically modify them to that degree? If the soul guides are recoiling in terror because of what they're seeing, imagine what the Irma are having to come and deal with. So yeah, we do. We call in the Irma, and the Irma are the ones that come and lock them up in cages and cart them away. So thank you. We love you, Irma, so much. If any of the Irma are watching, because I've heard a couple of them are watching my podcast recently, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you are doing for us down here. Because some of these freaky ass things that we're finding, I don't know what we would do if it wasn't for you guys helping us. Like, I don't know how we would get rid of them. The other day, right? One of our people had fucking Draco attached to them. A Draco. We're not talking like these little, most of the time when we connect to somebody and they've got a reptilian, it's one of those little Kingu types, right? The Kingu are the humanoid types, right? They're the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak, when of the reptilian hierarchy, because they're mixed with human DNA. So of course they'd be at the bottom. So it's usually those little peons that are out doing stuff, messing with humans, right? But we caught an actual Draco attached to somebody the other day, and it took a huge team in order to remove it. And it was quite funny, actually. If you talk to the soul guides afterwards, the soul guides sounded exhausted. They were like, ugh, like, don't let's do that again. Like, you can tell that even though they're dead, they were still, or I shouldn't even say dead, because some of them were discarnate and some of them were galactic. But it was the Irma that came in and removed them. They were the only ones strong enough to do so. So I just want to say that is one of the things I really wanted to mention today, and how grateful I am to the Galactics that are here, the Arcturians and the Andromedans and the oh my goodness, the Alpha Centauri and all the others that are coming down here to help us. We are very, very grateful. And the Salations especially, I just love them so much. Like, we're so grateful for all the help we're getting down here, because this is a hell of a mess. It really is. It is a huge mess. And considering that we can't even see a lot of the things that we have to deal with down here, we are definitely in need of their help. Aaron says, forgive my ignorance. What's an Irma? So I'm going to spell it URMAH, and I'll see if I can find it for you. So they're space cats, basically. It was really funny. Dolores Cannon didn't know what to think at first when she found out about the Irma. She was just like, what? You mean they're space cats? It took Dolores Cannon quite a long time to actually even just accept the fact that space cats are real. But they are. They're basically lions and tigers and leopards and cheetahs and stuff that are highly, highly advanced. It's the ultimate form that they take. So the lions and tigers and all the big cats that we have here on Earth, they are like a less evolved subgroup of these other beings. And for those of you who have never heard about these beings before, I'll just give you the basics. They are originally from the same planet that we humans are. This is why sometimes they're called Lyrans, because they came from Lyra. So did we. We also get called Lyrans because we came from Lyra originally. Well, we were before we were genetically modified. So here's a link to a discussion by the Tagetan Pleiadians all about the Irma. And there's a video if you would like to watch it and the script. So Lori says Thundercats, ho. All of these things, they have some kind of history rooted in all of this. But the Irma are my favorite. Like, even as I say, I must admit, like, even as a Pleiadian, as a Tagetan, the Irma are still my favorite. I just love them to bits. They originally used to be the biggest problem in the galaxy. They used to be kind of like the conquistadors of the galaxy, where they would go and, subjugate entire planets. This was a long, long time ago, though. This was like 1 million years ago, before the reptilians showed up. And then the reptilians showed up, and they changed their tune, so to speak. Oh yes, thank you, Jen. There's my write-up as well. I did share a post. I forgot about that post. I did do a write-up that summarizes it as well. Jen just shared the links. Thank you so much, Jen. You're very helpful. So yeah, if you guys remember like Egyptian mythology and Bastet and all those other, there's so many different cat deities in Egypt. This is why cats were so highly worshipped in Egypt and other places, because of the Irma. There was a lot of them in Egypt back in the day. There's a lot of Syrians and Pleiadians and all kinds of different beings. Thank you. I didn't even realize what time it is. Thank you, Amma. You're the best. So yes, for those of you who are interested, feel free to read up on that and to check it out on Svaru. I just shared the link. And we will go and switch over to Astara just now. But a lot of you, if this resonates with you, then there's probably some kind of history where you were involved with the Irma, just for the record. So if you have like an obsession with cats, like our beloved Katya, then you may understand like that you probably were an Irma in a past life. I've met several starseeds that are Irma starseeds. And they don't suffer fools. They don't suffer fools at all. And thank you, Daniela, for mentioning this. Siddhartha is offering a 2-part workshop. I've been promoting it on my page. If you guys want the link for that, feel free to check out the page on Astral Lara, and you'll see the link to sign up with Siddhartha. I will be there. There's going to be 2 events. One is going to be on Christmas Eve, and the other is going to be New Year's Day. So it'd be great if you guys joined us. I will definitely be there. And then I'm going to jump over to Astara now. So if there's any questions or anything you guys want to discuss privately, feel free to join us on our Zoom chat that we're going to be switching over to now. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to be joining with Dr. Scott tomorrow because it's Christmas Eve. We're going to have our Jesus talk as we normally do because why not? And then on Wednesday, I'm going to have the day off so I can spoil my little guy with his Christmas stuff. I got a lot of cookies to bake. And then on Thursday, I'm going to have Erin Suniva join me so we can talk about the Divine Feminine version of all the Christmas stuff. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you all tomorrow, or I'll see you on Astara just now. Bye.